Hello, thank you for joining us at Smoky Valley Arts and Folklife Center. I'm here with Lisa Larson and my childhood librarian, Marla Elmquist. So we're here because they have organized a folk costumes of the Smoky Valley exhibition, featuring mostly the royalty of the past Hyllningsfests since the earliest one, I'm not sure what, 1948. So they have done just an amazing job with this exhibition throughout the years. I think you've been doing it for six Hyllningsfests, so 12 years almost. Because Hyllningsfest is only every other year. All of you online have just missed Hyllningsfest by a weekend or two. So mark your calendars for October 2027, because it's every odd numbered years. I'll turn the microphones over to Lisa and Marla here, and they're going to give a little talk, and I'm going to walk around and show you some of the details of these costumes as they speak. This video will also be uploaded to our YouTube channel. Unfortunately, I forgot what our YouTube channel is called, but we'll put that in the comments later. So we'll hope you'll see it there, also hopefully on our website someday. So, thank you. Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, welcome again. This has been kind of a labor. It's a lot of work, but it's only every other year, so it seems like it's not that much until it is. Yeah, until all of a sudden it's like a lot of work. But I was approached when I first moved to town, and it was like, we used to do fashion shows, let's do that again. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought that seems like a lot more work, because the costumes, you're not quite sure, you're guessing what the sizes are, you're trying to find the people, and everybody in Lindsborg is so busy at the time of Hyllningsfest. So this seemed like a better fit, and it's been so well received. Last year we became a nonprofit, a 501c3, because we knew that because it was so well received that we wanted to keep this going. So all you listeners out there, if you want to help, we are more than willing to accept lots of people to help us with this, or if you have ideas about future exhibits. But hand it over to Marla.
Well, Lisa's right that it was started just because of asking to do what we thought was maybe the impossible, and we tried to take the same concept and turn it into something that was possible. There had been costume shows before, but they were people coming from out of town, so they were there was a group that used to come from Dallas, Texas, a dance group that provided a program. And so we were sort of looking for that, but looking for an alternative. We think it's sort of like the pop-up restaurants that happen, so that it's just every 2 years, here are costumes. In between times, they're all packed away and being well cared for in a facility here in town. The cost of putting them out on display permanently is exorbitant because of needing to have things be climate controlled and kept away with so critters don't get to them. So we do have a place that we store them now. We store them in archival material boxes. The few that we own, and actually in this exhibit for this year, there are only about 4 or 5 of the costumes that have been donated to the costume exhibit. The rest of them are ones that have been borrowed, and so we are lucky to have so many people be generous with loaning costumes that they have. That some of them were people that would actually be wearing them if they weren't on loan, and were willing to not wear them this year so that we could show the kings and queens. We usually just have a random group of costumes. We say, now whose haven't we shown before? And then we call and ask people. And I actually had one person call me this year and say, aren't you going to use my mother's costume? You use it every year. I said, well, it's going to change a little bit this year just because we thought we would go with sort of a theme. And I believe that there are enough years that are not present here that we could do another one with the kings and queens very easily. It's just finding those people and finding the family members that have the costumes, and we hope will be still in the families. We don't do a lot of planning, like Lisa said, far ahead of time. So within the 2 years, that's sort of our maintenance. We like to be available to the community if they want talks, or if they'd like to have a small exhibit of some costumes or samples of things. We are lucky just in the fact that we have such a vibrant community here, that so many of these costumes have been preserved. The costumes, one of the things that we like the most about the costume exhibit and the costumes themselves is that it is a community building project. If you think in terms of the children that come and sign up, or parents move to Lindsborg, kids are in school for the first time, and if it's an off year, if it's an odd year, then when they come into the building, they are whomever they were when they left someplace. So if they're from Chicago, or they're from Los Angeles, or someplace else in Kansas. But when they come here on an odd number year within the school district itself, they start teaching the children the dances and the songs right away. So by October of their first year in school, they have become a member of the Lindsborg community. They're dressed in a costume and they're dancing and singing in Swedish. Isn't that amazing? So when you think about the kinds of things that costumes do, they do draw people together. And the reason for drawing together is, of course, the Hyllningstest, the festival honoring the immigrants that came here to the United States, the Swedish immigrants particularly. What else? One thing that we see with the costumes, especially the ones that are older, I would have to say, and maybe not, I guess today it's happening too, we see a lot of handwork on the costumes. When Emily starts showing you the costumes, look at the aprons especially. Some of the aprons just have fabulous lace work on them that were done by hand. Lots of things with embroidery. There's a beautiful one right behind me here that Ruth Peterson did, and she has her name, and then I think we didn't quite get it on there right because it says the year 1989. So her costume, it shows that handwork. And a lot of them have, you'll see things about these costumes that are reminiscent of the Swedish or Svensk Folklife, but they're also very much folk costumes from the Smoky Valley in that they are reminiscent of what costumes are like in Sweden as opposed to costumes that actually are direct copies. Some of them that you'll see when Emily gets to the pink and white one here that is Liz Johnson's, she actually bought the material in Sweden and the patterns and made her costume from that. So it is actually a costume from the Smoky Valley that is a replica of one that might be a Swedish folklife. But you'll see most of the women's costumes have a vest of some sort, long sleeve blouse, an apron. I have always wondered how much longer aprons will be part of Swedish costumes, just because so few people wear aprons anymore. Men's costumes are usually a vest, long sleeve shirt, and pants that are short pants gathered around the calf. In order to keep this exhibit vibrant and moving forward, part of becoming a 501c3 gave us a board of directors. So we have 5 people, Lisa, of course, and myself, and then 3 other people from the community. Tara Killingsworth is the seamstress. She's at the Ivy Thimble here in Lindsborg. She and her friend Carla Wilson developed some patterns for costumes for folk costumes for the Smoky Valley. And then Marla Sue Holmquist, she and her husband farm north of Lindsborg, and they are very active with the Old Mill Museum here in Lindsborg and the history of it and the history of the area. And then Susanna Swinson makes up our 5th person, and Susanna, as librarian here at the Lindsborg Community Library, has had a really strong interest in costumes, and she was looking at one time of trying to get a grant to have the costumes here photographed in 3 dimensions, so if you get them at them online, you can see them from all directions. But that's since the grant was not given, and so we've moved on from that for the time being. What else should we do?
Well, we should mention that we wrote for a grant because of 501c3 and got $6,000. So we got new dress forms, which was very much necessary because we were just kind of borrowing and stealing dress forms and getting cheap ones. And so these are nice ones that fit fit the size of the people that wore them and look better on the dress forms.
A lot of our old forms were one size. These, you can give a person a waist or make them a little larger without a waist. So they really are much more adaptable.
You want to talk about, these are our recent collections over here,
So
recent additions.
when Lisa is the one, I have a small crew of people, Marla Sue Holmquist, and Beth Peterson and I, and Gretchen Esping, the four of us, put all of these costumes on the mannequins this year. And it is just a fun time. I mean, we never have trouble getting people to help with that because it's so fun to do. But I lost what I was saying. Lisa said the one's over here.
Yeah.
But when we decided, we started over here in the southeast corner and started with the oldest costumes and went around the room. But then here at the very back where Emily is showing now, these are 7 costumes that were donated this year. And we had 2 more that were donated, but one of them was badly soiled, and so we set it aside because we don't want to do that ourselves. And the other one, we couldn't find the provenance who it belonged to, and so we're sort of holding that back until we have a little bit more information about it. But so all 7 of these, 2 of them came from the same family, and actually the 2 here, there are 3 Carlson. This is one Carlson, and this is Marilyn, and then the other one here is Mary Evelyn. Those are sisters, and at the far end is Debbie Bankston, and this is her mother, Ingrid Bankston, so some family things there. At the very end are the Dale and Mrs. Lund, and Dr. Dale Lund was president of Bethany College in the 60s. So we get costumes, some of them coming from, one that was donated this year has no tie to Lindsborg, except the woman had been here at Hyllningstest and saw this and decided maybe she knew what to do with her mother's costume, so she wrote and asked if we would like to have it, and we are saying, well, that'd be wonderful. So we do take costumes that aren't necessarily reflective exactly of the valley here, but most of them are receiving ones that have some kind of tie to the valley. When we're writing the descriptions, we try to include, if we can, who made the costume, and if it does reflect some province of Sweden or why they chose what they did. I know the Sundströms over here, Sundbergs, I'm sorry, that she chose red because her husband liked both of them in red, so she thought, oh, she'd use that as a color. So it wasn't something reflective of a province or provincial costume. And then others are ones that are put together.
Marley should talk about Hugo Lindall's.
Yeah, Hugo Lindall's over here at the corner. We can talk about Hugo. Hugo Lindall's is wonderful. We aren't sure exactly what the design work came from, why the epaulets and this sort of thing. He was mayor of Lindsborg one time. But the really fun thing was when this is donated, his family told us that the vest that he's wearing, he got when he was leaving Las Vegas at a men's store. And he looked at that orange vest and said, that's a perfect Hyllningsfest vest for my costume. So we have that little tie-in with Las Vegas, Nevada. He liked the detailing on it and thought it was a good fit. So folk costumes in the Smoky Valley here are definitely folkish in that they are not replicas of costumes that have that the structure that they have at the folk direct in Sweden. The structure there being, if you're from a specific place, you have certain kind of jewelry you wear, certain colors. Scarf or Norse scarf is all dictated by the way that has been done for centuries there. But here what we do is we put together something that expresses ourselves and still has that tie back to thinking about Sweden and the immigrants that came from there. And so here's one of our board members, Susanna Svensson, busy lady. Do you have questions at all? Sort of hit and miss here, but.
So the donated ones, you will keep them in controlled storage?
Yes, we have rented a space here in town that has controlled storage, and then we purchase. In fact, one of our biggest purchases every few years are archival grade boxes and the tissue paper that goes with them. And so when these are taken down, the ones that belong to the costume exhibit, or the costume project, those are all folded carefully, stuffed with paper, however it needs to be, and put in these archival boxes and then stored. And it's actually, it sounds silly, if you aren't from Lindsborg, it sounds silly to say they're stored at the old lumber yard. If you're from Lindsborg, you know it's a beautiful facility that is very well, and that's where they're kept. Each box is labeled as to what's in it, so like for this, we could just go pull out a box and we know that we'd have Miss Taylor, we would have her, the very first one that we would have that one, and not have to take the whole box out. But it has grown larger than we ever even thought it would. The first year when someone said they had a costume they'd like to give us, we were like, well, we aren't taking costumes, we aren't soliciting costumes. But it didn't take us very long to see that was probably a really good idea. I hate to see them leave the valley, but I also hate to see this kind of history for the Smoky Valley to just disappear, which it can do very easily. So we really love that. And we love that people are willing to loan these treasures to us for other people to see for short periods of time. I should say that all of the photographs, the formal photographs, are actually taken, I believe the Hyllningstest committee has those taken by a professional photographer. It has been Turner Photography all these years. And then they're framed and hung in the senior center. So anytime you go into the Lindsborg Senior Center on the north wall, after you get inside the door, front door, are all of these in year to year, so in order. And then we just asked, could we borrow them, and they said, oh sure, and they packed them up for us, and we carried them next door. So really nice. Well, thank you for coming out to look at this, and those of you that are here, we know that Ruth Peterson had loaned us costumes this year, and actually she loaned us her costume and Dr. Walden Peterson, her husband's costume. And she loaned one from, thank you, from Martha Windblad. and there's a good story. This is a costume that Ruth had that belonged to Martha, and she said she didn't know what happened to her, the one that she wore most of the time. And then Hyllningsfest Day, when we were here, my sister came back carrying a cardboard box and said, this gentleman wants to talk to you. And here was her grandson saying, we have Martha's whole costume here we'd like to donate to. So it's like, oh my gosh. I even get teary-eyed. It just is so great that people find this as exciting as we find it. Because it is, as Lisa started out by saying, it's a labor of love. It's not a hard thing to do. We put a lot of work in on it the last month before, and they're always a little panicky when Lisa texts and says, that's January and it's an odd year. But having a board now with a few extra people and new ideas and ways of doing things has really helped. We were so well organized this year. It was really great. Hopefully that'll continue on. So thank you, and please enjoy the rest of the time that you're here. If you have questions, we'll try to answer them for you.
How much longer will this display be here?
Until 5 o'clock this evening. And because this is an active gallery, so on Tuesday they're going to start hanging another shutter. So tomorrow our very great help comes in and starts. We have not so much to pack away this year, but a lot to deliver back to people who loaned it to us.
I should have drug my wife here, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you can see it again next in 2029. 27. And also, we haven't formed anything, but we like to do things within the community. So I thought maybe this year we'd ask the Midsummer Committee if they'd like to have maybe a small talk about the project and a couple of the costumes. We don't take them outside. We need to be in a good place to, but it'd be a fun thing to have just something a little different to talk about in Midsummers as well. So thanks again, and I know that there look like beautiful snacks in the back, so be sure you visit there. I did forget to say that there are books, you know, that, of course, that Lisa and I put together from all of Lisa's photographs, and then the information and documentation we get from people when they show them. So it's the first 5 years. Yeah, this is the first year that we start over now.
Yeah.
So we start over, I believe, 5 years before another book comes out. Lisa will do that.
I looked for a price tag, I didn't see it.
There it's,
It's something here. It's $30 plus tax.
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
You can start talking now.
And there's food in the back if you're like some snacks. Great.
And next week, please come back and take in our holiday show that we have here at the
That's
Art
right,
Center.
it'll be actually a gift show, right?
Right,
So
holiday gift show.
come shop.
hello, Mr. Ray. Oh, yeah. You'd have to really crank up that and get your name.
He told me once that somebody asked him, well, what province is your college from? He said South Maine.
Who was that?
Elmer Copeland.
Should have some anecdotes about it.
No, I was, yeah, I came in during the
Mark Anderson also very.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Behind Mark, I said Mark.
Oh, Mark.
Where my mail?
It was so much easier now. So far, this is okay.
Hey Lisa, just for the time, can we undo these so I don't have to do my arms every time?
Do these?
Yeah, all of them across the show because I'm gonna go up and down.
As long as you don't touch them.
Yeah.
How many years?
Well, is it so?
The way it is, financial now, oh no, they could never bear
We've got. Restore for, what do they call it, bricks and mortar, or what you help pay for?
Huh. Well, it seems like we get home because of this restored. Her name's Audrey. Lenore's still there. Yeah, and Audrey seems to want it.
tomorrow, because they're adding on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they do have a lot of, they have. So, take on more school, they do kind of have a display too, so there's spaces within.
Well, I couldn't go and see pictures from the pavilion, and I went and they had some on display. The scarves were just.
They have some real treasures stashed away. Just now, you know, they don't play their missions, which is basically souls and destiny. They've got a wall. Yep. Somebody shot it and drug it here. It's this cement mount too, it's like on cement. It's some really weird stuff.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, thank you for our.
and also,
Goodies back here.
Yeah, I would love to have a better solution than what we have right now.
so just, before you go off to your work week, so you're gonna be, yeah, so after work, a lot of time, maybe, meet you up there.
Let me look at my schedule, I feel like there's one thing happening. Mark was saying, we should go to Young. Is it Friday? That he's playing, he's in a band now with Debbie Reynolds. And he said, what?
He doesn't play, yeah.
He said they're playing this Friday.
Oh, they are.
They're opening,
Yeah.
that's what he said. So talk to him about that.
There's a bar down the street where he plays. Yeah.
Well, I know he said yeah, because I was like, where would that be? So, I don't, maybe he
The
wasn't
bar
sure.
was, I can't imagine.
I don't know, not to my knowledge, but now that you say that, yeah. But yeah, text me and
Yeah, all right.
I'll take a look at it.
I'll see how the week goes.
Okay.
So, cool.
Thanks for coming. Did you get some snacks?
Keep stumbling in back here, they're making noise, you shut the door, scowling at me. You told me 3:30, so I showed up just when broadcasting. Whatever.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we will.
All right.
See ya.
Yeah.
How are you, my friend?
What you need is spend time with
For the trick or treaters.
Thanks for helping us with on Fridays. I appreciate you.
That's when we're doing a finger. I said trick or treaters.
You never know.
Went out of your way. She did a little story with me growing up, but most of the lower Rosalie. Yeah, she's always throwing out something. She did cosplay, and she'd have to say. You know, like she wants to dress up something out of every story. Or some movie, this or that movie. And so she makes the costume. Over there, Rosalie, San Francisco area, they have these events. Themed events, and she likes to go to those and sew up some outfits. That's Rosalie. Yeah, she just, now Ann's not that way. Ann is, she shies away from.
All these pictures, too.
Any other.
This is the new one there, and that was because Marilyn Swanson, I asked her daughter, she had pictures of her mom in her costume, she said, well, I'm not sure then she wrote back and said, I have one. It's a little, it's a really good picture. She's in the picture. And that was the one that it's the Salem students that's just there. So we were able to just pull off from that picture, just to put on the. Yeah, well, yes, it was, because whoever took it.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
And the cameras really had a good resolution. So every time we find a really nice one like that, Lisa was right there.
Whether he wants to cooperate or not.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. Oh, yeah, it's a great project. It's fun to do. It isn't a lot of work for us, you know. I mean, the last minute it is, you know, we spent about 4 days just panicking, getting it all put together. But then all of a sudden, you know, we put everybody, put the costume, I and 3 other people, put all the costumes on the mannequins, and then Lisa comes in at night with, I think Marcia had.
I saw Marcia.
Yeah, and they come in and put everything on the walls and arrange and how to do that. So we had no idea when I came in, like, they're so great, it starts here and just, you know, around the room, or right in the it all comes together.
I mean, it's just, he just keeps like anyway.
Yeah, we decided to skip that.
And I knew his mom would remarry, but I didn't.
Games and goodies.
She was in his 70s. That's why I was asking.
It's good, she did something when she did that.
Well, that's 80.
Under our morning. We're doing well enough. Okay, well, we're ready to head out. Is it very late?
Yes.
We went, okay. Well, I guess I don't have to head around and be social. You don't have to help. I don't have to help. That's a good thing. I felt rarely down there. And I just love
Big accordion, or was it small?
I did really want the other is called concertina.
Yeah.
That's why it can be admired. I like how your style is how they word it, but it's not.
Well,
Yeah, exactly. That's nice.
You talk about rose music organs?
Yeah.
Well, I remember.
Yeah.
We want to carry these out, we want to try to get those. I'll go ask her, let's see if she wants me to start. If she wants me to help move back this way.
Thank you again.
Oh,
the light.
and it came up with,
Not really.
and it had a cow dinner, an old buddy of mine that,
Oh.
there's no guy that helped several times. He was listening to the historical society with me and everything, so I got those big guys.
We can both talk about it.
But that was, is further back, Louis Lamore. So,
Those continue to be popular.
you know, everybody says, well, he's just Western, but, you know, he really, that's not what he started as. As my, Louis Lamore, he's known for his Western, and, he's really historically pretty correct. And and to the T, I mean, that place, and, yeah, let's see, what was it? I'm trying to remember the name of the book, but, I mean, just the whole setting, and describe the ranch down below, and this guy goes up to this little stone, and that's where you hide out at. And,
Everybody needs a place to hide.
yeah, and I mean, it was just, oh, that's where, you know.
Yeah. Kind of fun to identify those places.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, when authors do that work, and you're familiar with the place, it makes it all that much better. And if you're familiar with the place and the author obviously isn't, I mean, that happens too.
yes. He did some on the sand dunes out there. And, I've done research on them, but
Was this in Western Kansas?
no, it's in Colorado,
In Colorado.
out around Alamosa,
I know
the western.
the sand dunes out there.
Yeah,
Is that what you're, yeah.
yes. And,
And there's sand dunes down in Hush too. Also.
yes,
And somebody told me it's because the wind would blow and they couldn't blow the sand over the mountains. So it all just settled right
yeah.
there. Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, you know, that's their theory. And how it goes, which you look out beyond that, between there and Taos, there's just nothing but sand. I mean, that ground out there is,
Wretched.
yeah,
There is no
And no-
soil.
that's not right. There's no cover on it. But it's kind of like all desert. You put a little water to it, and it just is a garden. And, that's what's so fun
I've
about it.
never seen wheat being irrigated until I went to Colorado.
Oh,
And I was like, what are they irrigating? The guy says wheat, and I said, what? I said, I grew up in Kansas, I've known wheat growing all my life. And I went, what is this? And I said, what? That's the only way they can get it to grow is to irrigate it. It's like, no, you irrigate corn, you don't irrigate wheat. But they didn't.
I cut quite a bit of irrigated wheat there in eastern Colorado. And then around, first time I ever cut any crop that was over 110 bushel, that was irrigated barley out around Longmont and Loveland area. And I cut barley that was 160 acres, bushel per acre. And that was Coors barley too. And
What's cruise barn?
to make Coors beer.
Oh, cruise, yeah. Well, I wondered if that wasn't part of the
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, so that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
So that was fun. The, I don't know, have you been to the sand dunes there on this? What time of year did you,
It was summer.
well, early summer or, so the river was running?
I don't remember.
Well, you remember it, it
No,
was,
I don't think so.
it was, cause the sand shifts underneath the water and it makes breakers, just like the ocean. And they're only about this tall, but that sand shifted under it, and and it does that. And then, usually by mid-July, it's pretty well dried up. And,
This probably was maybe June.
we had grandkids there in June, and they were building sand castles and playing in the water. And then I was there in October, and I went to about the same place and I took pictures and sent back to them, and they go, "Where's the water?" You know, dig down and find it, but. Anyway,
Well, that used to be wonderful land to grow muskmelon and watermelon, and it was all underground water. And the sandy soil is what they thrived on. I don't know, I do not understand that. I can remember going with my grandparents to Hutch and buying muskmelon and cantaloupe and muskmelon. They were wild. Then they even had peaches and what else did they have? They had peaches there. If they grew. But like you said, everything's underground, you don't see it. The roots go down to it. Because that was some of the best fruits and vegetables I ever ate.
the watermelons from that area is, they're just hard to eat. And nobody wants to do that anymore. The old timers quit doing it because they couldn't get help. And there's a few that are doing it again.
Well, they used to have roadside stands
Yeah.
all along, what is that, 61? But they quit having that too. Because I can remember going to those stands and just loading up your car with peaches and cantaloupe and muskmelon, how the car smelled. When you were driving back to McPherson, they lived in McPherson, and oh, that was just painful. And then we divvy it all up and we get some to take home here. You never figure out who's, two small people can eat that much. But that was the big thing, is to go to the fair and see the biggest watermelon or the, that was always the trip. They used to have a free fair here in town. And it wasn't associated with 4-H. It was a fair for the community. And they used to have it. There was an old gymnasium that was north of the college. It became the maintenance building later on. But that's where they had the free fair. And, my great aunt took first place in homemade soap. Oh my gosh. We all saved bacon fat. Bacon fat. And she had set up in her garage. I mean, she started by making her own lye, right? Yeah, the wood ashes, and she put water on it. And I remember as a little kid, I was warned again and again, don't get close to that, don't get close. I had another great aunt that did the same thing. Anyway, they started by making their own lye. And then they cooked up, they had big tripods where they had a big round metal pot. They have a fire built under it and cook down the fat and the lye. I never knew a recipe or anything like that, but it was pretty intricate, I would say. And then she had a mold where she poured it all into this mold that was wooden and had little bricks and stuff. And I could never figure out, there was never any suds when you used it. You couldn't get any suds out of it, but apparently it cleaned anyway. And it still smelled like bacon.
Sure.
You can't forget that. She wouldn't let you forget that. She was the sister to my grandmother. My grandmother used to say, well, my mother made it.
So, was your family, did they migrate here originally
Yeah,
to this area?
they came first to Chicago and to Geneva, Illinois. And my great-grandfather he was a blacksmith. And he had a blacksmithing business. He was a better blacksmith than he was a businessman, let me put it that way. And so, yeah, he was at Geneva. Then they moved to Galesburg. Became a big hub for railroading. And he did a lot of work for railroads. And I guess it was probably custom work or they, contract work. Then he had two daughters who married two pastors. And eventually they all ended up here. A.W. Ralston was one of them. His wife was Albertina Wilhelmina Esping. And then Andreas Andreen, his wife was an Esping also. I don't remember her name. But there was a movement in Sweden at that time to have pastors come from the laity, or what would you say, the underclasses. Because before you had to be, you were only from the upper classes that you had the privilege of studying. But then during the mid-1800s, they had a big movement, maybe 1830s or 40s, they had a big movement that they met, well, what would we call them nowadays? Maybe a free spirit, free will kind of pastor, maybe more leaning towards Baptist and Methodist. And not so high church liturgical. And it was easier then for these young men from, at that time, Smola was just, whoa, everybody could preach. So they went to Peter Fjellstead was the name of the man who had this school for pastors, and it was, again, it was more, it wasn't the high church Lutheran thing, it wasn't that. They were more, well, I guess what we would call them, free will Baptist or free will Methodist, spiritual rather than liturgical. But a number of them came here to the U.S. because the idea was they were going to preach to the slaves and they were going to preach to the Indians. That was their goal. I don't know how that worked out for them. I really don't. These guys all became Lutheran pastors. They were they were on the fringe, but they all became Lutheran pastors, or were ordained in the Lutheran church. So they kind of lost their rebelliousness and came back to the fold, I guess you'd say. Anyway, my grandfather had two daughters, great-grandfather had two daughters that married two of these pastors. And like I said, they all knew each other at that time. other, they all hung together. See if I thought. Hi there.
You originally from Minnesota?
Yes.
That's good.
That's good. Interesting.
I,
My great grandfather also coming from Sweden,
the Smoky Valley.
and
Arts and
then over here, came to Gettysburg, like she mentioned.
Okay.
Was working in the iron foundries. Then he sold it, and his wife's much better than Nancy.
It's always interesting how they migrate. The races they migrate.
It's an interesting.
Every once in a while, I
There's
just
a
get
lot
this
of, there's a lot of
big
people in this area
wave of
kept
wanting
contact
to
with their
know how
family in
you
Sweden,
are and how
but
you're
my
doing,
family
you
did
know,
not do that at all.
that kind of thing.
So,
Well,
now, you know,